Hello and welcome back to Deep Sleep Creep's YouTube channel. Today we're going to be listening to 3 more horror stories. If you enjoyed listening to it, please consider commenting and subscribing. So get comfortable and let's begin. I was 10 years old when my best friend Sarah invited me to her birthday party. She lived in a charming old house on the outskirts of town, surrounded by dense woods that always seemed peaceful. The party promised to be an unforgettable night, with one special guest that Sarah's parents had hired, a clown. Now I wasn't a fan of clowns myself, but I decided to give him a chance for my best friend, Sarah. Plus, it's not like anything bad really happens at birthday parties, so I thought. As we gathered in the backyard, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The clown was unlike any I had seen before. His makeup was a mess of dark, swirling patterns that seemed to hide his true face. His eyes were hidden behind oversized, black-rimmed glasses that reflected the flickering candlelight from the lanterns strung around the yard. Earlier that day, news had spread of a child's disappearance in a nearby town, which freaked out my parents. They were talking about it and watching it on the news before we left to go to the birthday party. They were judging the parents, thinking how could a parent leave their kid out of sight for just a little bit. Yeah, they were that type of people. As the party began, I couldn't help but think of that missing child and the fear that gripped the community. I will tell you why this is important later. The festivities started innocently enough. The clown juggled brightly coloured balls and performed tricks with balloons. But there was something off about his laughter, a chilling undercurrent that sent shivers down my spine. I noticed that the other kids seemed equally uneasy, but we were determined to enjoy the party. As the evening wore on, the clown's tricks grew more darker. He would make objects disappear and reappear in an eerie fashion. His shadow danced grotesquely on the walls, taking on a life of its own. He seemed to slowly become more madder is the best way I could describe it. The air grew colder, and the lantern flames flickered as if responding to some hidden terror. Then came the moment that would haunt my nightmares for years. The clown began telling a story, a tale of a lost child who ventured into the woods, never to return. As he spoke, his voice took on a heavier and eviler tone, and the shadows seemed to come alive, mimicking the story's eerie characters. I watched, petrified, as the clown's eyes behind those dark glasses freaked me out to my core as he stared at me grinning. My mind raced, connecting the dots between the clown's ominous story and the recent disappearance of the child in the nearby town. Panic spread among the children, and we begged Sarah's parents to end the performance. They rushed to the yard, but the clown had disappeared into the darkness of the woods, leaving behind a trail of echoing, sinister laughter. Sarah's father tried chasing the clown with a bat, but by then it was too late. The clown was already too far ahead for Sarah's dad to reach him. The party ended in disarray, with children in tears and parents trying to comfort them. We initially thought that Sarah's parents had invited the clown, and so did Sarah. Sarah's mum thought her husband had invited the clown as a surprise to both of them. But when he returned home for work, and realizing the clown telling the stories and asked about it, that's when they later learned that no one had hired a clown for the party, that he had simply appeared uninvited. The police were called, but they found no trace of the clown. To this day, I can't help but wonder about that night. What was the true identity of the clown? Where did he come from, and where did he vanish to? After seeing the movie, recently I can't shake the feeling that he was something different. A creature that slipped into our world for a brief, terrifying moment, leaving us forever haunted by his chilling presence in the woods behind Sarah's house, and the unsettling connection to the child's disappearance in the neighbouring town. That night still freaks me out and sends shivers down my spine to this day. I'm 18 right now, and Sarah and I just graduated high school. Luckily, she never saw that clown again after having nightmares about him for a while. It was my 8th birthday, and my parents had planned an exciting celebration at Dave & Buster's. I couldn't have been happier. The place was a kid's dream come true, with flashing lights, arcade games, and delicious pizza. Plus, I was excited to see what my friends and parents got me. At the time, I was excited for the new PlayStation 2 to come out that year and would not stop talking about it. As the party was in full swing, I was engrossed in a video game. The sounds of bells and whistles surrounded me as I raced cars and collected virtual coins. My friends and I were racing each other and running around finding whatever games we could compete with each other in. That's when it happened. A strange man appeared beside me, his smile too wide and his eyes too intense. He had on an overused white wrinkly shirt, and his pants were jeans ripped apart and dirt all over. He also smelled bad too, as he said, "Hey there, buddy," his voice too friendly. "I'm a friend of your family, and I have a special present for you in my van. Would you like to come and see it?" I looked to my friend, Jake, next to me, and he looked at the man and shrugged his shoulders and continued playing his game, determined to beat me and the rest of our friends. At first, his words didn't register. I was caught up in the excitement of the game. But then it hit me. This wasn't right. Who was this man, and how did he know my family? I said, "No, I'm good." The man was shocked and replied with, "But your present starts with a P and ends with a 2. That's when I got excited. How would he know that I wanted that for my birthday if he wasn't a friend of the family? In hindsight, I should have pieced together that it was a popular present for most kids my age at the time, but I was 8. Anyway, I told my friends that I would be right back. They weren't paying attention and continued playing as I got up and walked with the man. I started to follow him, my heart pounding as he led me toward the exit. That's when I started to have a bad feeling. I hesitated at first, and the man noticed my hesitation and said, "I would bring it in. I just didn't want to get the other kids jealous because this is a special edition." For some reason I believed him. I continued following him out of the door and into the back of the parking lot. He held my hand tight as he picked up his pace. Once I saw the only van in the parking lot, I hesitated and tried stopping, but the man was so strong and started pulling me even harder now. That's when I heard my mom push open the exit door and chase after us, her face a mixture of panic and anger. "Stop!" she shouted as she ran to catch up to us. The strange man froze and I stopped in my tracks. My mom reached us in seconds, her eyes locked onto the man. "Who are you? And what are you doing with my child?" she demanded, her voice trembling with a mix of fury and fear. Then the workers and security staff and friends started coming to the parking lot. The man stammered, and he mumbled something about a misunderstanding, and then took off dashing to his car and sped off with the tires screeching. My mum held me tightly, her face white as a sheet. I thought she was mad at me at first, like I did something wrong. She wasn't mad at me. She was mad at the man, furious that someone had tried to take me away. It was then that I realized the seriousness of the situation. I felt guilty for being so naive and for nearly following that stranger. But my mum assured me that I had done the right thing by stopping and listening to her. She thanked her lucky stars that I was safe and unhurt. The party ended after that. My mum called each of the kids' parents telling them what happened and asked them to pick up their kids early. At Dave & Buster's, my birthday party was ironically considered a bust, but luckily no one got hurt. Also, luckily my friends' parents still gave my mum and dad permission to have their kid over at their house for a sleepover to end my birthday party. So some of us continued the birthday party there. That's when I did end up getting my PS2 and started playing games with my friends. To this day, I still don't know what that man wanted, but I'm glad I never had to find out. It was my son's 8th birthday, and we had gone all out to make it a memorable celebration. The backyard was decorated with colourful balloons, a bouncy castle house, and a long table filled with cupcakes and party favours. My son and his friends were having a blast, running around and laughing. Everything was perfect until he showed up. As I chatted with the other parents and kept an eye on the kids, a man I had never seen before approached me. He had a dishevelled appearance and introduced himself as Tom, claiming to be a colleague from my workplace. His demeanour was unsettling from the start. "Hello there," he said with an eerie smile. "I work with you at the office. I heard it was your son's birthday, so I thought I'd drop by and say hello." I couldn't put a name to the face, but I was distracted by the chaos of the party. "Oh, that's nice of you," I replied cautiously, "but this is a private party, and I didn't invite any of my colleagues." Tom's smile didn't waver, and he continued to hover around the party. He started offering the children balloons, which was odd because we had hired a professional clown for that. When I asked him to leave, he insisted he meant no harm and just wanted to join the celebration. I said, "No, you need to leave now." Then he looked at me with pure hatred and walked away. I breathed a sigh of relief as I continued to enjoy the party with my son. However, an hour passed, and I noticed Tom had somehow managed to get inside our house. I rushed in and found him rummaging through my son's room. I don't think I ever felt so much anger in my life seeing this. "What are you doing in my son's room?" I demanded. Tom turned to me with a vacant expression. "I'm just looking for something." My heart raced as I realized this situation had gone too far. I called the police immediately. They arrived promptly and escorted Tom out of the house, warning him not to return. But their hands were tied. They couldn't do more without evidence of a crime. They can give him a warning not to trespass again, but can't do anything about it until he does it again. I felt a mix of fear and frustration as I watched him walk away. I knew he should have been arrested for something, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't going to end that easily. The party continued, but the atmosphere was tainted by the encounter. Unfortunately, Tom hovered around watching the kids behind trees. I called the non-emergency number and asked what to do, and they said, again, they couldn't do anything about it unless the man was on your property, which he wasn't. I tried to not get so distracted with Tom, but I was watching him as I continued to enjoy the party with my son. I was relieved when the party ended and the children were safely back inside the house. Once the party ended, my brother, who is very intimidating looking, started approaching Tom. When Tom saw my brother approaching him, he ran off, and I haven't seen him since. But that night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about Tom and what he had been searching for in my son's room. I had a restless night, haunted by the eerie smile and the unanswered questions. I couldn't help but wonder if this was the end of it, or if Tom would return, leaving my family in a constant state of worry.